whenever our story is active, one of the first things that we have to learn to do is, and this is one of the first skills of emotion regulation, is we first of all have to learn how to check the facts. Now, this is a very challenging skill to try to learn, because a lot of people, and myself included, when I started doing this work, we believe that our story is a fact. And this is the problem, right? Because I see the way that I am seeing the world when I'm attached to a particular story as, well, that's just fact. I hear people say it all the time. I used to say it all the time. When they start having conversations about the way that they see the world, they say, well, that's just fact. It's the way that it is. Is it? And checking the facts is one of the first things that we have to learn to do, so that we can distinguish the difference between the facts of the situation and our story about the situation. Now, the facts are things that are just indisputable. Anybody that would look at this situation would say, yes, that is the case, right? It's not an opinion. It's not a thought process. It's not a belief. It's not like, well, that's just what they meant. No, that's a story. Now, it doesn't mean that that story is wrong. It doesn't mean that that story is bad. It doesn't mean that that story isn't, accurate based on your previous experience, but it isn't a fact right now. So in DBT, the skills follow the process of what's called scaffolding. So they build on each other. They start to get bigger and bigger. And when we get into radical acceptance, which we talked about in the last conversation, a lot of that revolves around what are the facts of the situation. So now that we're getting into emotion regulation, we're building on that what are the facts of the situation, so that we can apply them to the story that we're actually responding to, right? So checking the facts is the very first thing that we need to do to see, is my story close to what's actually happening, or is there a lot of things that I'm making assumptions for? Am I reacting to a childhood experience? Is there a certain amount of fabrication that's going on here, an assumption that's going on here? Like, what's the difference between what's so and what I'm telling myself about the situation? Does that make sense?
It does. And I want to ask a question to it, in that, in this part, are we trying to figure out the meaning? Like, for instance, if I'm in a situation where I feel as though I don't belong, if I'm okay, like if that story's active and I'm in an environment, it's like, yeah, you know what, I don't belong and I'm okay. I don't know if I'm really, looking to explore that schema. It's when I'm don't belong and there's a fear in my system from that not belonging, that I may explore. So it's not just the schema in my thoughts right now, it's the meaning I'm tying to not belong. Is that right, Stephen?
Yeah. So the schema is where the meaning comes from, right? This is why, for me, schema therapy is amazing. When we start to look at the different schemas that are active in our system, and then, which is the context, and then the individual content for the stories that we're telling ourselves, that's all the meaning that we're attaching to situations. And we, as human beings, we are meaning-making machines. I love that expression. We attach meaning to absolutely everything that we do. This means this means that, this means this means that, like constantly attaching meaning, which is another way of saying that we are constantly reacting to our own individual stories in the situation. So when we're checking the facts, we're trying to see, what's the meaning that I'm attaching to this situation, and is that meaning accurate? Just because I'm attaching a meaning to a situation doesn't mean that it's not accurate. If, to use your example, if I don't fit in and if I don't belong, okay, is that because, what's the meaning that I'm attaching to that? Is that because simply, these people are just not people that I've got anything in common with? If I'm in a situation where, I don't know, just to use a light-hearted example, let's say I'm somebody that's not into sports, and I find myself surrounded by people that are all talking about, I don't know, we live in Canada, so I find myself surrounded by people that are talking about hockey, ice hockey, for those outside of Canada that might think
For those who need us to name a surface.
Yeah. Well, because there is field hockey too.
Sure.
So and floor hockey. So if I'm surrounded by people that are talking about ice hockey, for example, and I've got absolutely no interest in that, and my schema of social isolation kicks in because I don't fit in here, I don't belong here. Okay, this isn't my tribe. These aren't people that I've got anything in common with. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean I'm an idiot. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It just means that this is not my tribe.
The clip you just watched was taken from the upcoming podcast, A Conversation for Liberation. If you like the content of this clip, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and turn on the notifications so you can stay up to date with when each full episode gets released. As always, if you want to know more about what we do at the Liberation Place, come join the live online meetings that I facilitate each week for free on Zoom. I'll leave a link to the page containing more information about these groups in the description below. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Take care, be safe, and be well.